ladies and gentlemen, and we are going forward. Our next speaker is already here, Ben Cheng. He is director of OutSky, and his topic going to be about AI and big data, Asian experience. Ben, where this goes to your side, your turn.
Great. Hello. Hello, everyone. Let me share the slide first. Okay. So it's working, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, sure. Thanks for the time. So today I'm gonna share very quickly on some experience of employing machine learning technologies into different business in Asia. So I'm the founder of a agency called OutSky based in Hong Kong. So we started from a software development agency 10 years ago, and then 3 years ago we start having a machine learning teams, building different machine learning model for clients, and we have a product called Form Extractor, which is a product focused in doing information extraction. So I want to start with sharing some interesting case we have done, we have seen in the last few years, and then share a little bit about what we see from clients on the difficulties on doing machine learning, and then finally wrapping up with a prominent case we have been done recently. So here are some interesting case. I wish if some of you are interested, you may want to check it out more in details and see how it applies to your business. So for example, we have done several cases with clients on object recognition. The case here is interesting. It's there's a puller factory in Hong Kong, and then they have a lot of puller model. The problem is that sales need to meet the clients and identify which puller model is closest to the one the client is having. So we build a simple support vector machine with the inception neural network model to do the job. The idea is simple. We also have a blog post on the technical details. If you're interested, you can check it out. The same will apply to the rest of each would have a QR code. If you're interested, you can look at it in details. Another interesting one is you can actually use machine learning to predict game result. So this is for a major media outlet in North America and Hong Kong. And then they want us to build a model to predict NBA game result, so that it would be interesting things for the readers to look at it. Similarly, we have worked with some hedge fund, financial institute on using neural network to complementary on their investing algorithm. These kind of model, usually the background is similar, but then the problem is how do you get enough data to actually build something? We have another case is article generation. So the business is a publisher, and then they want to experiment with, and then we have to build a article generation model based on you can type say once upon a time, and then the model would finish the rest of the article. So these kind of technologies are usually useful in things like chatbot, or sometimes on some customer service or knowledge management stuff. But this is an interesting case we see. So these three are some weird one. And then we also always see a lot of commercial use case on things for example, store cannibalization. So what it means is with all the historical customer data or sales data, we can try to predict, say, which is the optimal position for the new store. So with a client, they have hundreds of store in Taiwan, and then they have hundreds of store in other area of Asia. They use these sort of model to help the business team to make the decision of where to open new store, what would happen if a store is closed, that would it actually benefit others store in the geo proximity. Another very common thing we see is recommendation engine. So usually is this for e-commerce, maybe how do you position the product feeds? What are the products you want to recommend to the clients to increase the bucket size? These are very common. Another area is like very common we see is like video analytics. So there are some very basic things like how many people have walked into the store, which are the hot zone in the retail area. But there are some more interesting things is, for example, like how many times my customer service staff or sales have interact with the clients for a day. So we see like these kind of information are usually like really helpful for business to drive the business decision and make planning. And then finally is information extraction. So it usually like is to replace some manual work. For example, if your business needs to take care of a lot of business registration document, then probably like you're actually interested in the company name, address, the the registration number from the business registration document, and then even with OCR, you need someone to like actually like cut and paste the data into an Excel spreadsheet. So these are areas that machine learning can usually help to speed it up. So I hope these give some interesting idea of like how machine learning would works for your business or like helping business now in Asia. But I'm also seeing like a lot of like common problems like when companies like want to apply. So the first thing I saw is like actually not enough data. I think it kind of related with like um, there are a lot of like new business in North America and in Asia in most city. Things are a little bit legacy. Maybe like it is still the business is still using a ERP or some sort of old software from 90s or year 2000s. Like it doesn't have a like good tracking. It doesn't like store enough data. Um, so for example, like when some business is considering like I want to build a good recommendation engine, so the obvious thing is like, okay, so I will have some sort of like CRM or my POS would keep track of all the user transactional records. So this is like actually usually the first step, but usually it is not enough. It is not good enough because like you are just tackling one signal, right? And then like you would, well, there are some like cheap solution that you can just buy recommendation engine plug and play with this information, but like unless you have a really like huge volume, just transactional records is not good enough. So there's some like not obvious data that which can help. Like for example, if your e-commerce or if your application have a search bar, then what kind of keywords that people like the users search on the search bar could be a good signal. The real-time location, or not just about the buying record, but more like how long time they spend on the page of a particular products or other interaction, like if there's like some way for the customer to talk with your customer app on the website, then all of these are some signals that the client, the customer is interested in the product. But usually business doesn't have a sense of like we need to track this information. Um, so if you are like a have a older like business or have an older ERP, you have an older storefront on the web, then if you don't have this information tracked, then you probably can't build a good recommendation engine. So it's usually like come down to like basically like you need to build the capability in your organization to be aware of like what kind of data are valuable. Another problem I see a lot is like it is actually kind of hard to measure the ROI or AKA the accuracy. Like like if I have to invest like X amounts of dollars on doing like recommendation engine, then would tends to like, okay, maybe I would just use some pre-built model, some off-the-shelf solution for that. But then maybe the accuracy is not good enough from them, so the ROI isn't here, and then the business decided that, okay, this is not something we want. But then the problem is like, it is off the shelf, so that means that the model isn't like really custom made for you. It isn't probably not using all the signals you have, which go back to question one. And then even if you have the data, then do you invest on your own data science team, or do you like outsource it to someone? like these, and anyway, these are some investment the business need to make. And how do you measure it? How do you justify it? It's kind of difficult, especially these days, data scientists is quite hot in the market, and usually they are not cheap to hire, not cheap to get a data science team for a new for a new effort. And then finally, what I see is like the investment on data labeling. The problem is like, okay, so people say like, Asia actually have some advantage of it because like maybe it could be done in some area with cheaper labor. But then there are some sort of data like you just can't do it. Like, for example, if you are in medical imaging, then the labeling of data have to be from an expert. This might be extreme, but there are like a lot of cases where the more valuable the model you want to build, it is actually more expensive to get the data labeled for the machine learning model you want to build. So that is another thing, like I think a lot of time some business didn't expect and have trouble with. So finally, I want to share an interesting case that like how AI help. I'm not sure if you have like there's on the news say like the Li Ka-shing Foundation, they process an instant relief fund with Google, and then like it use AI to shorten the application time into 8 minutes in average. Like how do it do it? So actually we work with Google in this case with our product form extractor. So there's a concept on like data processing. They are like unstructured data. So for example, if you scan the receipt shown on the slide, the test is just like a bunch of tests, and then like it needs further processing to it. And then there's a concept of structured data. So you actually like extract, for example, like the date in the receipt and then the amount in the receipt, something like that. So a lot of time OCR is not enough, and then you want to extract data in details. So how do you do this? It's like there are two ways to do it. It's like if it is fixed document, you can actually like highlight like which area in the document is somewhere like data interesting for you. And then if the document is not fixed in a format, then you actually need some machine learning model to actually find the data you're interested and to like extract it like from the images. So in the Li Ka-shing Fund case, mostly they handle like business registration document, hawker license, which is fixed, and then there are also something like food travel license is not fixed. Like so, these kind of things would really helpful in a way that like when people think about OCR, but then like OCR can't really like get the data in a structural way. But then now we are seeing more and more application in trying to get structural data to help speed up the business process. So I know like it is like a short period of time, but here's like some some details information. But then if if you're interested in it, then like again, like there's a blog post about like the form extractor I just mentioned, and then if anything like here is interested, or if you think I can give some help or advice later, then feel free to connect me over email and LinkedIn.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Ben. Thanks a lot for your interesting speech.